Madam Speaker, I rise today to express grave concern over the Biden administration's decision to withhold information that is of very much legitimate public interest and concern. Specifically, that is the audio recordings of President Biden's interviews with Special Counsel Robert Hur, which were subpoenaed but have not been turned over, and over which the president has now made an assertion of executive privilege. Now, I have discussed before the many, many legal problems, indeed absurdities, with this assertion of executive privilege. But I want today to make perhaps a more important point, and that is that the administration is going out of its way to prevent the public from getting information that the public very much wants and needs. During today's judiciary hearing with Attorney General Merrick Garland, I asked him about Robert Hur and his report. I said, first of all, do you regret picking Robert Hur to be special counsel? And the Attorney General said no. I asked him about his statement when he appointed Robert Hur about his long and distinguished career as a prosecutor. He stood by that, and the Attorney General stood by that. Moreover, he did not dispute any of the substance of Special Counsel Hur's report. For example, I asked him about Special Counsel Hur's finding that there was evidence the president willfully retained classified documents. And Attorney General Garland did not dispute that finding. Indeed, when Special Counsel Hur himself testified before our committee a few months ago, I asked Special Counsel Hur if a reasonable juror could have voted to convict President Biden. And Special Counsel Hur said yes. That is, that there was sufficient evidence to sustain a conviction of President Biden for committing a felony. Now, of course, President Biden has not been charged, or the special counsel did not recommend charges. And one of the reasons that he gave for not doing so was, quote, the president's diminished faculties and faulty memory. At other points referred to as poor memory, or his memory had significant limitations. Special Counsel Hur concluded that these factors would make it more difficult to obtain a unanimous jury verdict. And so I'll say again the language from the report: diminished faculties and faulty memory. And these were the conclusions that Mr. Hur reached based upon his interviews with the president. And again, Merrick Garland, Attorney General Garland, who is withholding these recordings, has not disputed any of the special counsel's findings. And so Merrick Garland, and now President Biden himself, is withholding the evidence that Special Counsel Hur used to conclude that the president has diminished faculties and a faulty memory. And there is nothing the president or the Attorney General could say to dispute that. It is the inescapable conclusion of the fact that Attorney General Garland continues to stand by the Hur report and to not dispute it. So that is a big problem, because I am not myself offering any opinions here on the faculties or cognitive abilities of the president. I'm simply quoting the findings of Special Counsel Hur. And the public is very much concerned about these issues when it comes to the competency of the commander-in-chief. And I don't think anyone would doubt that there is a legitimate public interest in whether the commander-in-chief does have diminished faculties and a faulty memory. And so, again, the conclusion is inescapable, that we now have the administration withholding this evidence that is of great concern to the public. And the basis on which they are doing so is almost trivial. The basis on which they're doing so is that if they turn over these recordings, then somehow that will deter future witnesses from cooperating in future investigations, because they don't want their words to become public. The problem with that Let's take that at face value. Let's assume that it's true, that there would be a deterrent effect or a chilling effect. The problem is that the Justice Department has already released transcripts of the recordings. So if we are to weigh the interests here, there is the undeniable public interest in whether the president has diminished faculties and a faulting memory, as Special Counsel Hur reported. That's the interest on one side. And the interest on the other side is whatever marginal added deterrence there might be from releasing a recording over and above a transcript with the exact words from that recording. One would have to conclude that that additional deterrence effect, to the extent that there is any, is quite small, quite marginal, negligible, compared to the overriding public interest in the matter at hand. So there is simply no justification for the Justice Department to continue to stonewall or the White House to claim executive privilege. Indeed, it's even more disturbing in light of the fact that the White House tried to alter the Hur report itself. Special Counsel Hur testified to our committee that the White House did request to make edits to the report. So I am again calling on the White House and Attorney General Garland to release these recordings